Hi, Joel Nelson here. I'm with Marlon Minks. And Marlon, you wear many hats in the church planting world, with one of them being the director of starting for Converge North Central. But you've also planted a church, and for the past 20 years, you've been the director of the Converge National Church Planting Assessment Center. So safe to say you bring a great deal of experience, great deal of knowledge, great deal of insight into the starting of new churches. So what I want to do just quickly with you today here is talk about where do you find church planters? Where are future church planters right now? Historically, when we talk about planting churches, it's we want to plant churches, but every church plant needs a church planter, correct?
Right.
So obviously, you got to find the church planters, and a lot of times, initially, they've come out of the youth pastor world, and that's been the case. That will continue to be the case. But where else might we spot future church planters?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, like everyone else, looking for employees, looking for help, we're having the same kind of struggle trying to find church planters, pastors in general. So I think there's some things we can do that will help that situation. Some short-term situations and then some longer-term situations. Short-term, looking at our staff, if you have a staff, and say, who has the potential to be a church planter, who on my staff is really entrepreneurial, who's always wanting to start things, has a passion for Christ and for reaching other people. And could we look a little deeper into them and see if maybe they could potentially be called to plant a church at some point in their ministry life? More long term, I think getting back to in our churches, challenging those people that are attending every week, sitting there every week with giving their life to Christ in a way that may lead them to full-time ministry, whether that's an established church or whether that's a church planting situation. I think we've got to go back to grooming or teaching people in our churches from youth and say, giving your life to Christ, maybe starting a new church someday, being a part of a ministry someday is really something you should think about. I don't think we talk about that much anymore at all. And so having gotten away from it, we're not sending the amount of people we can. We're still sending people to foreign missions. We see that, but we are not sending people to our own areas, to our mission field right here.
So you mentioned short term, long term, and then I want to kind of go back to the idea of the person in the pew in a sense. So from your experience, you see church planters coming out of the marketplace into the ministry context of church planting?
Absolutely. That's what happened with me. I came out of the marketplace. I was a cabinet maker. I had my own business at one point. And I came out of that into ministry as I felt the calling of God in my life. Still seeing that today, people who are finding that calling in life and they think maybe, the only thing for me to do is to just give to my church or just be a pastor someday. But really, especially those entrepreneurial people, that might be a chance to start a new church, to reach a new group of people that you're not. So those options are there. I just think we don't challenge people in a way that they'll obviously think about it. Is this something I could do? Is God maybe calling me to this? Do I have a passion for a group of people or for a place to start a new church that would impact generations of people?
You mentioned the entrepreneurial component. I'm a senior pastor. I'm looking at my staff, or I'm looking at the people in the pew. What are some of the other characteristics that I may want to kind of have a little sensitivity to say, hey, that's a tool that would be good in a church planter's toolbox?
Well, really look for somebody who's teachable, somebody who has a hunger for the things of God, and someone who has some entrepreneurial ability, startup ability, likes challenges. Those types of people can really help you move forward. Looking at maybe someone and asking, is the call of God in their life? And what does that look like? What is their God story? How have they gotten to this point? And is this something you can build on and keep growing and developing them?
And in Conversion North Central, we have a variety, a number of churches that are doing this. So if there is a conversation that somebody wants to have about how does this work, what does this look like, we could obviously make a connection with somebody. But also, I mentioned earlier your background, your experience. You and our Conversion North Central office is also a tool, resource for pastors and churches to say, we want to kick these tires. We're curious. We have somebody in mind. How do we kind of go to the next step in that way? So that's what we do, correct?
Absolutely. It can be a second career person. It can be someone who is at that point of life where they've finished, their career, and they're trying to say, hey, what do I do for this next season of life? So challenge those people. I'd love to help you. I'd love to connect with you to talk about those possibilities. And as you know, Joel, we can actually do a pre-assessment to help you understand more about how you're wired to see whether or not this is something that would possibly be a calling in your life.
So if anyone is just interested in learning more or extending this conversation a little bit, or maybe you have something in your mind, in the newsletter here, you will see contact information from both Marlon and I, and reach out to us, and we're here to help. So thanks, Marlon.
Absolutely. My pleasure.